While 2025 is coming to a close, North Dakota's top cop is putting a spotlight on last year's crime numbers. Attorney General Drew Wrigley laying out what kept law enforcement busy in 2024. Lindsay Miller has the details.
Crime stats in 2024 came from North Dakota's 53 county sheriffs, along with 50 police departments, 10 task forces, and the State Patrol. The report helps with comparing trends over the past decade.
2024, though, definitely brings some hopeful one-year changes.
Attorney General Drew Wrigley drawing attention to what he called an astronomically high number of narcotic seizures and arrests.
We're encouraged by that, especially when you're at a time when so many law enforcement entities across the state of North Dakota are not fully staffed.
He adds violent crimes also came down slightly in 2024, but the crime rate went up roughly 30% when adjusted for population.
It's pretty clear we're at a statistical plateau in the Group A offenses, and that's better than going up.
Those Group A offenses are the most serious, including homicide, sex crimes, narcotics, and financial crimes. Wrigley highlighted some rising statistics of more than 12,000 crimes against people, which are murders, manslaughter, rape, and assaults. The report also lists that criminals stole more than $64 million in property. He also focused on the surge in DUIs. The state saw a 7% increase in what the AG calls an avoidable crime.
All the options that are available, taxis and Ubers and Lyft and friends and relatives who will happily come pick somebody up.
Wrigley adds the importance of providing mental health and alcohol resources to help curb the rise in drunk driving. In Bismarck, I'm Lindsay Miller, reporting for your News Leader.
Now we'll have a link to the full report in this story on our website. As for 2025's numbers, Wrigley says they hope to release those by July 1st, and they aim to put out the previous year's crime report by mid-year going forward.